It's your data.
Episode 109 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name is Chet Rogers. With me as usual is John Denton.
What's up?
Episode 109. Yeah, we're going to go through two top 10 lists. The 10 games we've been playing over the last week, stroke 2 weeks. Number 10 is the games we've been playing the least. Number 1's are the games we've been playing the most. That's it. John, let's just do this.
My number 10 is a listener recommendation. It's Family Guy on Android.
Oh, yeah.
It might have a subtitle, but I've erased it from my memory if it does. This is like a bizarre mix of that Simpsons tapped out hell and like terror. It's just, I don't really like Family Guy. I've watched plenty of it. I watched it when it first came out and I thought it was all right, and then I don't know, I just don't like it. I don't need to talk about why I don't like Family Guy, but this game is it's sort of every single thing that's bad about free to play all rolled into one game, but constantly making fun of the fact that it is that, but still very much being that. So you start off and Peter's house burns down, and then you have to like press a button and then coins come out of his house, and then his son comes out and he needs to change his pants or something, and then you press him and then you change his pants, and then you have to, there's like 4 different types of currency and all these cool down clocks, and it's just a horror show. It was starting to make me feel physically unwell after about 10 seconds, and I couldn't play it for very long. I mean, I wouldn't say I played it for more than about 5 or 6 minutes, because it was, Family Guy makes me feel unwell anyway, and then couple that with this nightmare.
So it is just a straight rip-off of Tapped Out?
No, it seems to be more quest-based, I think, but then I can't quite remember what happens in Tapped Out. It certainly looks exactly the same. I mean, the production values are quite good, and I think it's got over 1 million downloads on Android already. I'm not surprised, given how big Family Guy is, but I just, no, thank you. I don't want those types of games. They make me feel dirty.
Likewise, is it on iOS as well?
I don't know. It was just recommended on Ange, wasn't it? So, yeah, it's nice to actually play. I always forget. I kind of forget that phone's a games machine these days.
All right, well, if it comes to iOS, I probably won't check it out.
No, don't.
All right.
You like that?
Okay.
You like that Scarface game?
Yeah, but, my girlfriend still plays Tapped Out to this day, almost every day.
Yeah.
Don't get it. Okay, well, my number 10 is Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z on PlayStation 3. I spoke about it. I was right at the end when I spoke about it last time, I think, and I completed it. The final boss reminds me of how good the bosses are in Suda games, and it so wants to be a boss in a Suda game. The final bad guy is this big sort of Titan thing, but it's voiced by this Spanish voice actor, and it kind of sort of sounds like Garcia Hotspur making weird deadpan wisecracks and stuff. It's really derivative rote stuff, and it just reminded me of how good some of the bosses are in Suda games, particularly Shadow of the Damned and Killer is Dead. When you complete Yaiba, you unlock this arcade mode, which is sort of a retro-styled extra. It looks visually the sort of same art style as the main game, but the graphics and the text and the cutscenes and the music are all done sort of 16-bit. And sometimes it's a side scroller, sometimes it's top down, but it's old school. It's really, really difficult. But I thought that's quite a nice extra. It's actually another game in itself. I don't know how long it is because it's punishingly difficult, so I didn't stick with it. So yeah, I don't know. Yaiba, full price, forget it. But there is fun to be had if you can hack how fucking hard it is. And yeah, I don't think it's anywhere near as shit as some people have said it is. I think it's just middle of the road fine.
Yeah, it just seemed like a fucking B-movie.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, some people might enjoy it. I know if I was 10 years younger, I probably would be like trying to champion it, but it doesn't really deserve that.
Maybe 15
it's just,
years younger.
yeah, it's just fine. It's totally fine, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I'll never play it, but yeah, that's fine.
All right.
I don't even know why I said that. Right, for me, it's Pro Evolution Soccer 2014. Eventually on Xbox 360, but I tried to play it on PS3. This is mainly a story about my PS3 being a terrible machine.
Yeah.
I hadn't played any games on my retail PS3 for a little while. It's like in the lounge as a DVD player mainly, as like a Netflix box or whatever. Anyway, as is often the way with PS3s, I had to update it to be able to. I wanted to download this off PS Plus, right? Went to go to do the update. It said update is found. I pressed it, and it said data is corrupt. And I was like, what? What do you mean data is corrupt? It's your data. I'm not. What are you talking about? So I did that about 5 times, and then I was just like, oh, so this is just. What do I do now? I went online, and this is clearly a common problem, and there's all these workarounds. So I had to go to their website, download the new firmware, put it on a USB. Thankfully, I know how to do the USB updates because I've done them on debug PS3, so that wasn't too difficult. But I'll go on in a minute. But so got that in. Then you had to restart the machine in safe mode, which involves turning it off and on in a very confusing way. And then from there, find a special menu to then find the update on the stick and then update from there. Did all of that and then finally got to PS Plus and then I had to download the game and I forgot, oh yeah, this is going to take forever to download because it's a PS3. And I've got this game on the Xbox. I'm just going to play it on the Xbox. So, yeah, I went and had a couple of games online on the Xbox, and it's still a little bit button laggy, but nothing like it was. And I had one game, there's this horrendous bug, or like exploit, I should say. You know, when you're taking a free kick in that game or a set piece, you can switch it so you take control of someone who might receive the ball instead of the person. Well, if you do that, seemingly, against this guy I played, every time he got a goal kick, he took control of his striker, put him miles offside, basically in my penalty box, and he just kicked it straight to him and scored. It's a fucking horrendous oversight on the behalf of the developers. And yeah, he did that first time. I was just absolutely stunned by it. And then because you play football games your whole life, and when someone else has a goal kick, you switch off until the ball's in the air. It's just what you do. So he kept doing it to me. I kept forgetting that I needed to run someone back. So he was a scumbag. But I played one more, and then I had an absolutely cracking game. It was good, but the PS3, I was just thinking, I have had lots of experience fucking about with these machines, updating them with USBs, moving them about over debug and retail since they've come out. If you're just a normal person who has a PS3, doesn't know that much about technology, maybe has it as a Blu-ray player, plays a bit of Call of Duty and FIFA, and that happened, you'd be fucked. You wouldn't even know where to start to look. What a nightmare.
Yeah, it is quite the machine, the PS3. I think the Xbox One has already surpassed it in terms of just the kind of shit that's on it. You know, I don't even know what's going on inside it. But did you actually play the PS3 version?
No, it has downloaded now, but I don't know if I'll bother after that.
Yeah, I downloaded it, and I'll speak about it next week because I couldn't get a game online for some reason. Online just didn't seem to be working, or the PS3 was just being the PS3. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's pretty shocking. So this is a widespread problem, you said?
Well, yeah, as soon as I typed in, because it had an error code in brackets, like A2E, I don't know what it was. And so I typed in that, and yeah, just pages of people on the Sony forums. What the hell's going on? So yeah, it's only been out, 7-8 years or something, so...
Yeah.
I don't know, yeah. And then when I put on Pro Evo on 360, it needed to do 7 updates, which you find in the statistics menu, of course. So overall, yeah, it wasn't. Thankfully, that second match was very, very good fun.
Okay, all right. Well, my number 9 is a game called The Jump Hero on Xbox 360. It's an indie game, and it's by Silver Dollar Games. I'd been playing a few bits and pieces before we did that episode last week, and I didn't realise that I'd played this many months or years ago, rather, and I'd completely forgotten it. And it's actually much better than I remember. It's an endless runner that emerged way before that genre took off. So I think 2009 or so, way before they became a craze on phones. And it's really good. It's got this really hard, dancey soundtrack. It's almost hard house, but there's melodies. It's kind of crossed with trance. And basically, you're sprinting along the screen. You can jump, double jump, glide, or dive bomb, and you collect things, avoid obstacles, etc. But the speed of it, you die every 5 seconds, but then you pick up extra lives every 4 or 5 seconds. And there are these unbelievably cheesy visual effects in the background, picture a rave video from the early 90s. So there's a Technicolor silhouette of a neon girl dancing, and there's all laser beams and stuff. I mean, it's pure cheese. It's a really simple game, and it's been, the genre has now been done to death. But I'd love to see it expanded upon at some point, because if they put some money into it, I think they've really got something. It's derivative, but it's quite sort of energizing, strangely. It's not just the music; it's just the mental pace of it. I found it quite invigorating somehow. So yeah, it's good. It's fine. 69p if you're really interested.
Good old Silver Dollar. If you haven't listened to last week's episode, the Silver Dollar versus Mitch Murder special, that was all Chet. That's nothing to do with me, but I'd highly recommend checking that out if you hadn't listened to it. If for nothing else, for the amazing music from Mitch Murder. But it's a very cool podcast. So yeah, props to you, sir.
Oh yeah, cheers. It's also on YouTube at the moment, so you can check it out there if that's easier.
Very true.
Nice
Cool. All right, my number 8, isn't it? Yeah. Infamous. Yeah. I don't have a huge amount more to add to this. Are you talking about this later?
I'll play it. I still haven't got round to it. I'll play it this weekend.
Just playing a little bit more. It's one of those games where I've got about between 2/3 and 3/4 of the way through it, I think. And it's not, it feels like, okay, I need to go back and finish that off, but it's not pulling me back in. Apparently, there's cool stuff that happens towards the end, and I have enjoyed everything that I've played. But it's just, if I've got a spare hour and I'm sitting there and I've got a few different things that I could play, it's not pulling me in as much as some of the other stuff that I've got right now. I will get to the end of it because it is quite a short game, and it does look so bloody nice. But I think the PlayStation needed that game right now. It needed something. Yeah. It's seemingly done quite well. So it did over 1 million in 9 days or something like that. But yeah, the PS4 needs some bloody games. It really does. It's good. As much as I like that machine, and as good as it does need some games.
Yeah, it does. Dave Turner said that Infamous is like maybe 6 hours long.
Yeah, it's not long at all.
Wow. Okay.
You can just kind of tell as you're playing through it how, yeah. Even if you do all the side stuff, I think you can kind of clean it up in about 8 or 9.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to smash it probably.
Yeah, I think the idea to do it again is that if you did a good run through, you do an evil.
Yeah. What did you do? Good or evil?
Good, but I kind of regret it now.
Why?
I don't know. I just wanted to kill everyone now.
Okay. All right. Well, my number 8 is Tomb Raider on the PlayStation 3. I'm kind of torn about this situation because I've got to stop downloading these. I think I'll always download them out of curiosity. When PlayStation Plus a game comes out that I've played, I always feel compelled to download it. But who has the time?
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same as BioShock in that I remembered while I was playing it absolutely how much I enjoyed it the first time, and I got stuck right back in. I played it for way longer than I intended to, but then I left it for 24 hours and lost all interest. So it just seemed like a bit of a wasted evening. It was nice to go back, but I could have, I think I just had to put games to bed rather than waste the time of downloading them and playing them again. But it was fun. I mean, in stark contrast to BioShock Infinite, I think it looks better on 360. I mean, bear in mind I played it on 360 last year, but playing the PS3 version, the frame rate during gameplay and cutscenes, in-engine cutscenes as well as FMV, seems slightly skittish to me. I mean, I might be misremembering, but it was only minor. But it's still exceptional visually, very lush. I tried multiplayer. I forgot that I tried it fleetingly on 360, and I only played it fleetingly on 360 because it is pish. Did you play it?
I had like 3 games on it, and it was pish.
Yeah, it's very, 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 very poor man's Uncharted, and awful lobby systems. I mean, I kept jumping into lobbies, and it would say waiting for round to end, and I didn't know how far through the game they were. I didn't know how many. I just was sitting there repeatedly, and there were so many rank 50s. There is a community still playing that game. They're all rank 50, so I don't really want to play with it. And the lag when I finally did get into a game was absolutely insane. So that was pish. But yeah, Tomb Raider.
I'm amazed that there's people playing it.
So am I, to be honest. I mean, it's probably a very, very small community, but there was games ongoing. Everyone was ranked 50, but what the fuck? Or higher than ranked 50? Maybe it was higher. I can't remember. But they were all like I got massacred, by people moving at 1 frame per second in the laggy game. But yeah, I've drawn a line onto Tomb Raider. Fantastic game, but see you later.
Have you ever played the next gen one? Did you play the next gen one?
No, I didn't.
No. I'd like to see it, but in fact, I have it on my PC, but I've never played it again. Yeah, like that game though. Okay, my number 7 then, talking of rank 50s, is actually Titanfall. I honestly don't really have anything else to add to what we've talked about plenty. It's still absolutely marvellous. I'm always amazed at how fun it is. I don't. What more can I say? Every time I expect it to suddenly be worse, or I haven't played it for a while, I'll jump back on. I jumped back on waiting for you and Dave to play. We had a session, and I jumped on a bit earlier and just played one game of attrition on my own and just ran absolute riot. And I don't run riot in games like this very often. It's very, very rare. And got like 16 pilot kills, 6 Titan kills, like 40 minion kills, didn't die. I was like, this is fucking awesome. I'm having so much fun. I could just do this. I could do this for hours. I didn't do it for hours. I went to bed. But tremendous. It's frustrating because I kind of want to just talk about it every single week, but there's not a lot more I can add. We talk about Battlefield every week. There's always something to talk about because there's something fucking up. But with Titanfall, it's like, they've done an update. It seems a bit better than it used to be, but it was already awesome. I wish the frame rate was a bit better on Xbox One, but Xbox One seems to have been made out of shoes or something. I don't know. So, what can you do?
It's not on my list. I've played it, a hell of a lot. I played it this evening, and it's just terrific. Have you noticed anything? They've tweaked the matchmaking.
It now swaps the teams, doesn't it? It mixes up the teams. Yeah.
So it's nothing to do with matchmaking.
I don't know, but what I do know is that before, when you first started, if you said it was 3 of you and you were against a team of 6 and you stayed in that lobby, that you would always be against that team of 6 and it just smash you every time. But now it mixes up the teams, as long as people aren't completely partied up or whatnot.
Yeah, I think they've tweaked the matchmaking as well, because every single time my friends and I play, we get stuck in a lobby against people who've prestiged like 8, 9, 10 times. And it seems to me that because we often beat them, I think they must have started matchmaking based exclusively on like win-lose ratio or kill-death ratio or something.
I think it's like the true skill algorithm or something like that they matchmake from.
Maybe we just. I don't know. I've never noticed it like this in any other game. It's really. I mean, we cannot play a game, which is particularly annoying for a couple of mates of ours who've just got it. I mean, Dave plays with us and he's only just got it, and we're constantly playing against like people who've played it way too much. So I guess they've tweaked that because it didn't used to be like that.
I remember reading something about their matchmaking. I think it's they've concentrated on really making sure you are matched with people of your skill regardless of time played, but it's difficult to judge that because if someone has played hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, they're going to be more experienced in terms of the maps and things like that. So I don't know. It's funny.
That's what I mean. I don't know, because Battlefield, what little matchmaking there is, you seem to be matched with people who've played it for as long as you have. No, you don't, do you? There isn't even really a matchmaking system on Battlefield.
I think it's just so happy that it's managed to get a game going. It's like,
everyone.
Thank God, I need
a
drink.
Yeah, come all. Okay, I mean, it's not a problem. It's I think it's a decent system. It's just annoying that there's no danger of us ever having a walkover match, but that's not really a bad thing.
No.
Okay, my number 7 is a game called Blazing Birds on the Xbox 360. Again, it's a $silver game that I'd never played. John Fluke mentioned it. He said it was one of his favourites of his own games. The reason I'd never played it is because it's one of their first, and it was actually on Xbox Live Arcade, and it was when they were called Vector 2 games, which is, again, it's why I didn't know that it even existed. You're these robots on wheels playing badminton, and it's amazingly simple. The triggers and the bumpers are the main controls, and there are teleporters and little collectibles floating around the net that give you high-powered smashes. It's so simple, which is why, I mean, I can't remember whether that part of the interview was in the last week's episode, but he said it flops because it's so simple, because that's the entire game. There's no extra backgrounds, there's no extra nothing. It's just this really, really cool badminton game. If it was more polished and like Jump Hero, if they had a bit more time spent on it, like One Finger Death Punch, they'd be laughing, because it's a really, really fucking neat little game for local competitive games. Next time I see you, we'll have to download the free trial and just have a couple of goes on it.
Yeah, I played it. I played it back when it first came out.
Did you?
I think I had to review it I think it might have been when I was still on Games TM, but I've definitely played it.
What did you give it?
It may have been like I don't remember having to score it for some reason, but I definitely remember playing it, because I remember he does mention it on the podcast, and when he mentioned it, I was like, "Fuck yeah, I've played that game." I had no idea it was them, and obviously it doesn't even have their name on it. But that was one of the first. It was still like an early Xbox Live arcade game, I think, or it was the first one coming out of XNA or something. I don't know. I can't remember. I remember it being a thing, and there was a reason I had to play it and write about it.
Okay. Well, I was surprised. I mean, it's very incredibly simple. It's just badminton, but really, really compelling, surprisingly. So definitely, I mean, download the trial. I'm pretty sure you can do local co-op competitive on the trial. So have a look. It's good.
Yeah, it is. I remember it being fun, definitely. Cool. Okay, my number 6 then is a game called Secrets of. I don't know how to pronounce this. I've pronounced it Raetikon in when I've been playing it. I assume it's something like Raetikon, something like that. I actually have a review of this game up on Eurogamer at the moment, so you can read it on there. It's a weird game. It's a 2D kind of open world exploration game where you play as a bird. It's got a really cool kind of angular art style. If you ever saw the game Chasing Aurora, which was a Wii U launch game, it's exactly the same as that. Yeah, it's the same people. Okay. So the art style is exactly the same as that. That game wasn't very good, and this game isn't great either. It's nice. The sort of flapping mechanic of the central bird character is quite nice. There's a button.
It's birds again, is it?
It's easy. It's basically a sequel, but it's more like a single player game. It looks exactly the same. I think it's like the same bird model and everything. But the central flapping mechanic is quite nice. You can sort of hold it for kind of thrust, and there's a dive button. You catch onto wind currents as you move around this kind of 2D open world. And I said this in my review. If this is a game that people are interested in playing, then I don't want to give away too much because the clue's in the name. Secrets. The idea is that it's all about discovering things. But the basic premise of the game is flying around this world and finding these shards. Bring the shards back to this contraption you find at the beginning of the game, and it slots in a thing. Something happens. You find them all. Something happens. That's basically what you're doing in this game, and it's not hugely involved. And the thing that they're selling the game on, and one of their main talking points, was the fact it has this ecosystem that interacts with each other. And it's true, it does. You fly through, and there's different birds, and they're friendly at first, and you fly a bit further, and there's like magpies and other birds that try and attack you. A bit further on, and there's like these fucking fox motherfuckers who jump up into trees and grab you, and there's no way of retaliating against them, which is fine. But when you're getting grabbed by foxes that are off screen and chomped to death, or stabbed by birds you can't avoid, when all you're trying to do is find these shards, and when you die it sends you back all the way to the beginning of the game, that's just fucking irritating. And also, my main thing that I wrote about in my review was the fucking magpies, because when you get one of these shards, what do magpies do? They steal shiny things. So it's kind of nice. First time it happened, a magpie nicked my shard and started to fuck off with it. And I was like, oh, that's really clever. Yeah, that joke wore off about the second or third time. And by the time you've got 5 or 6 magpies who've stolen your shard and are playing piggy in the middle with it, which is kind of nice in an AI point of view, but fucking annoying in the give me the fucking shard point of view. Yeah. The game was just driving me mad, and it just felt like it's just needlessly antagonising, because it's a nice little game. It only lasts a few hours. The environments are really nice. The music's cool. It's nice to move your bird around, but nobody wants to be fucked off like that. And it felt like they played a lot of Fez, and weirdly a lot of Dark Souls, because when you die, you leave all these. You collect blue shards as well. It never really explains what they do. I never really worked out what they did. But when you die, you leave a huge patch of them. And you have to go back through the game again to find them. It's just like, we play Dark Souls, and in Dark Souls you lose your souls, and then you have to go and find them again. But they've not really put any more thought into it than that. And the same with the Fez thing, like the shards, they give off these beams of light that looks like the cubes in Fez. But Fez was I didn't really like Fez, but I admire it. This just felt like, let's make a thing that's a bit like Fez, but it never really understood why Fez was like that. So I think it's a bit of a failure, to be honest. It's one of those games that, the art style will carry it a certain distance and it will get it attention, but ultimately, I gave it a 6 because it has some nice things going for it, but I wouldn't recommend it.
What format was it on?
On PC, sorry. It's on Steam. It came out on Steam on Thursday, so yeah, yesterday.
So have they just retaken assets and sort of elements from that game? I mean, I assume it didn't sell very well. It was only on the Wii U, wasn't it?
It was only on the Wii U, and it was just a multiplayer game, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was pretty whack.
Yeah, they've definitely reused assets, reused that engine. I think is probably the best way of describing it. It's an open world, but it's very small. It's a small, brief game. It only cost like £6 or something. It could have been good. It could have been better than it is without being. If they managed to take out all the stuff that winds you to fuck up, it might have been half an hour shorter, but it would have been something to do. But yeah, it was never going to be a classic.
Okay, what did you give it?
Yeah, I gave it a 6 for Eurogamer, but
all right.
Yeah, it does some things quite nicely. $6, $5, something like that.
Okay, what does it cost?
It's like £5 or £6. I just said both of these things. You weren't listening.
Did
How
you?
rude. Yeah.
When?
I said I gave it a 6. It only cost like £5 or £6.
Oh shit! Sorry, I don't know why I missed that.
How rude.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Okay, right. Well, look, my number 6 is a game called Blue Eden on iOS. I played it on an iPad and then realised that it's not optimised for iPad. Visuals were fuzzy. It's like the the magnified version. So I had to download it on iPhone instead. This is a difficult one because I would not recommend this, but at the same time, I think that there are some kids who will really, really enjoy it. The game starts quite badly. The game involves you swimming this sort of pack of powder blue sturgeon fish into what they call a school. So I think Finding Nemo is an influence because you're this pack of fish swimming around, and the first bit you have to try and add fish to your school, so you're swimming around looking behind all these little nooks trying to find some, but you're not directed at all. So I got to a situation where I'd found like 5 out of 6, however many there are, and then I was just floating around undirected for about 10-15 minutes trying to find the others, and then eventually I found them and I just thought, okay, that's a bit daft. In between all of the levels there are these sort of voiceovers with sort of facts about nature and sea life, and it's done in a sort of educational audio book style, sort of slightly stilted kind of sort of Attenborough sort of sound. The next mini game is you have to eat plankton, and you have to use very basic maths because the plankton resembles sides of a dice, so you have to get all ones, all twos, or 3 numbers in sequence. But it's so small that, and the animation's so small that it's actually quite hard, and it's very, very easy to make mistakes. Basically, the game gets worse as it progresses because I think the creators tried to do a little too much. The tutorials are all quite exhausting and quite drawn out, and needlessly elongated. There's a mini game we have to avoid being eaten by a predator, and in order to get out of the situation, you just have to swipe the screen. But every time you do it, 3 times on the tutorial, you do it once and then do it again. You have to watch this fish swim slowly in a circle, and then you do it again. And they're like, okay, another time, and then you do it again and again and again. And then they say, okay, well, let's do it for real, which involves doing it 3 more times. Then there's a reproduction mini game that barely works, with you just swiping the screen like a maniac again. I mean, it got to the stage where I became convinced that it was one of the most tedious games I'd played in my life, but this is not for me. I mean, I felt like a bit of a schmuck playing it because it's for very, very young children. There's a heartfelt little note from the creator in the menu saying how we should stop obsessing over new technology and instead preserve nature and whatnot. And there may be, I mean, the thing is...
But you make some iPhone game.
Well, I mean, it's the sentiment, I suppose. It's, I mean, there may be glossier games. That's the thing. I think that there's probably games like this made by Nickelodeon or Cartoon. I mean, I'm sure people have taken the mad love for Finding Nemo and made a game like this with some sort of educational elements in it. So I'm sure other versions of this game exist, and I'm sure they're much prettier and much slicker and much better made and more expensive than this. But it really does count for something that there is not a single hint of microtransactions in this game. Not one. So again, if you have a kid, 69p and then it's done, you don't have to worry about any of that crap. You don't have to worry about adverts. You don't have to worry about... I mean, and it's sad that it counts for something in this day and age, but it genuinely does. So it's unwieldy, and I think the guys that made it, I think it's their first game. I might be incorrect about that. But it's unfair for me to sort of really give it a kicking because it's for kids who, the problems that I had with it would not matter to a young child who wants to swim fish around and learn a few facts about sea life. So I think it's very scrappy, but it's not terrible.
Do you know how old Finding Nemo is?
Oh God, I don't want to know.
11 years old.
No way.
Yeah. I know. I watch Finding Nemo almost every day of my life.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not. And I used to like that film. Anyway, yeah, that sounds like something my little boy would like. It sounds maybe a little bit too advanced for him, but I will download that to my wife's phone.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's just nice that it's. I mean, I don't want to overpraise it for not being a bastard and like asking for money left and right, but there is something nice about buying a game and getting the game and then that's the game. I mean, it's very scrappy, but I think kids might like it if they're... It's got some good reviews on the App Store. People are playing it and liking it, so so yeah, if you like Finding Nemo or have a child that does, then have a look.
Yeah, well, I will for that very reason. Okay, my number 5 then is... don't know the exact name. 2014 FIFA World Cup Brazil. EA Sports.
EA Sports presents Brazil World Cup 2014.
Okay, what can I say about this? It's got the tournament atmosphere, probably better than they've ever done it before, and that's saying something because they always nailed that. It got me very excited for the World Cup, which I forgot it's in like 5 minutes. Apart from that, it's indistinguishable from FIFA 14 on current gen. This was on. I played it on PS3. Obviously, it's not on next gen. I hadn't played current gen FIFA 14 for a little while, but I played enough of it to remember this is indistinguishable. Apparently, they say there's some new like world class dribbling system. I don't know what. Get to fuck. Basically, there isn't. Yeah. It's exactly the same. The game has a new lighting pass, so it looks slightly different. It's a bit softer. I mean, we're really clutching at straws here. Yeah. And the main game mode is obviously playing the World Cup. So I picked England, and you know they always do the like Talk Sport podcast thing that plays in the background in the career mode and things like that in FIFA games. I don't know if you even play those modes yourself, but they've always done a good job with that. Here they have. It's genuinely really good, like a reactive Talk Sport radio talk show where you're going over the menus, and if you pick England, it does very specific stuff about England. If you pick Brazil, it does very specific stuff about Brazil. I don't know how many teams it does that for, and it reacts to your results. So not just I won my first game quite comfortably, and it talks about how well England had played, and it was a big result. And then the next game, I lost, but just by a small margin. It was talking about it being a nip and tuck game that we lost. It's the kind of thing that would lose its appeal after the first time you went through the World Cup, I think. But I mean, I must say it's very cool. It gets you in the mood. It makes you think, shit, in a few weeks this will be the real World Cup. It's going to be good. But on the pitch, it's just FIFA on current gen is really starting to show its age. Still fun. I mean, I would never say that it wasn't fun. I had fun the whole time. Scored some fun goals. The crowd effects are really, really good in this version. It has all like I mean, I fucking hate the England brass band. I hate them. It makes me feel like I've got a stomach ulcer the second I hear that trumpet. But it has them in the game, so it kind of makes it feel real. It's exactly what you think it is. It's probably not worth the price, but then again, if you want to get whipped up into a tournament frenzy, then it's there. I just wish that it was on Xbox One and PS4 with a more updated engine, because that's just better. I mean, it really is starting to creak on an old gen. Like players are always facing the wrong way and things like that. Just small things, but they all do add up, and it's just much slicker on next gen. So whatever their reasons are, I'm sure they make sense from a business point of view. It's just a bit of a shame. Yeah,
bearing in mind that because of you remember the Euro add-on that was an add-on for FIFA 12 or whatever, that was not complete, as in it didn't have half of the players' names, so that's why it was cheap. So the fact that this is £40 is only to have all of the players in it. Have they actually worked? So they haven't, have they? Really, it just sounds like a reskin of FIFA 14.
They've got like 200 odd national teams in it.
But that's what I mean. They've got everything. That's what your money is paying for, to have all of that stuff. I mean, the game just sounds. That's a shame.
It feels like I remember playing. I think it was the World Cup 2010 game and the Euro 2008 game, and they felt like they'd taken a lot of like the engine of the previous year's FIFA and done, experimented in certain ways and advanced it in certain ways, and they genuinely felt like a good step in between. And in both of those cases, in fact, they were probably better than the previous and next FIFA games. Just because of the way they managed to tie the atmosphere in, and they tried new things in them. I think Seasons mode that everyone plays now came from one of those games. The new penalty system came from one of those games. Ultimate Team came from one of those games. One of the Euro games, it was the first one to have like a collectible card game in it. So that's where they used to take risks. Here, all you have is in between World Cup matches, you have to do this, you have to do mini game training. So you'll pick your forwards and you have to practice shooting, and they'll get a form boost or something. So I don't fucking just let me play the next game. I don't want to do this shit. You have to play your skill games enough in the loading screens. It's just padding. What can you say? It is what it is. It's probably the least exciting version that they've done from a gameplay point of view, but from an atmosphere point of view, it's probably the best.
Okay, I remember how much I loved I really loved the last World Cup, the 2010.
That was really, really good.
Do you remember we won the World Cup with playing with Emil Heskey in England?
Oh,
so just so he could lift the donk, just so he could lift the World Cup. That was really good fun.
That was.
Yeah, I'm going to probably play it, so I'll speak about it next week. I'm really looking. I mean, I do like these games better than the regular ones, but it seems like they've done so little work. That's a real shame.
It feels like, but it felt as I was playing it that there wasn't anything else that they could do. It's just pushed it to the limit.
Yeah, it's a shame how they didn't reskin the current versions of FIFA 14 rather than only the old ones. It's a weird one. I'd like to know the reasoning behind that, but I guess we'll never know.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Okay. Well, my number 5 is a game called Trials Frontier on iOS. I played it on an iPad. Have you played this?
No.
You've not? Have you seen it? Do you know anything?
I know. Yeah, I've seen it a bit. I know what it is.
Okay. I mean, it's a little bit strange aesthetically. It's cartoonish, kind of almost done in a Joe Danger style, and it's set in this Wild West world with moody guitar music that sounds like it's out of Borderlands. And there's this sort of town hub and this saloon where people dare you to perform tricks and take on bad guys and find stuff. You win XP and currency. Some races net you equipment. Blah 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 blah. It's just Trials basically on iOS, and it works fairly well. There's some plot involving a bad guy called Butch, and he must be stopped apparently. And he's this cackling guy in a bandana with a handlebar moustache, and every time he comes on, there's this trumpet noise. So I'm just like, that guy's all right. I don't want to do that guy over. But you're constantly earning parts of blueprints for new bikes that take an age to earn, and the game is very stingy with content. So you endlessly going back to a few maps before you can move on. Go here and do certain tricks. Go here and do this. Go here and do that. It takes quite a while, I have to say, but before long you do start running out of fuel, so you have to buy some, and before long you have to wait on upgrades to take effect. You have to grind for gold or buy diamonds, etc., etc. I mean, it allows you to play for nothing for quite some time. But it does, it falls into the same trap as all iOS games. As fun as it can be, it also gets difficult as it goes on because the controls are imprecise by their very nature. This is not, Trials is not a touchscreen game. I can't think of any game in history that's been more specifically designed around a control pad. So you're looking at something that was only ever going to drive you to frustration eventually, because as it gets harder, you just like the controls aren't really up to it. It just becomes really, really aggravating. Technically, it's extremely accomplished. I mean, on iPad, it looks lovely. I mean, aside from a recurring glitch I had where I got stuck on the village hub screen and couldn't select anything, and I had to keep, getting out and sort of quitting the app and then jumping back into it. It kept happening. Aside from that, technically, it's a marvellous. And you can do things that you can do in the console Trials, like race friends' ghosts, as easily as you can. I mean, it's really, really slickly designed. It's in a way, it's almost about as good a Trials game on phones and tablets as it possibly could be, but the payment structure just stinks. And if ever a series was designed around a controller, yeah, like I said, I mean, I don't know. It does let you play for ages, but after a while, you have these gambling mini games of Wheel of Fortune and a fruit machine and stuff, and you can win stuff. And I don't know. It's not really, really aggressive, but as the game gets harder, you have no choice. I mean, I have a problem with that structure because once you pay, you're going to have to keep paying because it doesn't suddenly get easier. It's
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's if you have an iPad, download it and look at it because it's a hell of a thing to look at, and it is entertaining. It's just, I was just left kind of thinking it was ultimately pointless.
Yeah, I've just had enough of that structure overall, really. Just all the different currencies, and it feels like the whole thing's just set up to confuse you and kind of almost trick you into spending money. And I mean, it feels less like I'm playing a game and more like I'm just kind of stuck at a fruit machine or something. The whole thing just, You pick and choose what you do in your life, and I just kind of don't want to do that at all. But they pull you in with the free. The whole thing just kind of turns my stomach. It would be. I'll talk about a free to play game later, but it's not a mobile game. It seems to be the mobile free to play thing it's kind of. I mean, it is ugly. It is ugly.
Yeah, but on the one hand, as polished and enjoyable as Trials, whatever the hell it was called, is on iOS. You kind of want to I want to give them some money for it because I enjoyed it, but I don't want it to be locked into this sort of, because it's a never-ending pit, really. The idea is to get you to just keep giving money. I'm just like, take a couple of quid and give me the game, please. Anything. I just don't get. I mean, we've spoken about it
so many times.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah, we definitely know what we think about that. All right, my number 4 is Kinect Sports Rivals on Xbox One. The third Kinect Sports game, still from Rare. It is, I think there's 6 sports in the game. Obviously, stand in front of the camera, wave your arms about type thing. We've done it a million times before. The sports here are tennis, bowling, climbing, shooting, wake racing, and what's the last one? It is, I'm blanking on it. Don't know. I'll remember in a minute. They kind of vary in quality. I must say, you still need an absolute ocean of a room to be able to play this game in. It's not quite as bad as it used to be with Kinect, but you still need a big old room to play. I mean, you really do. Like, I would have to move my entire lounge around to be able to play in here, and in the office had to push the Kinect all the way to one wall, stand all the way back at the other wall. It's not really how you want to play. As for the sports themselves, the first thing the game does is it kind of it asks you to put your face in front of the camera, and it turns you into an in-game character, and it's kind of cool. Like, I mean, my guy didn't look like me, but it kind of was almost like a really shit caricature artist that can't get a job in Leicester Square or somewhere. You know, he's just working outside there. But it was fine. I thought it was kind of cool, and we made one of my little boy, and it was kind of cool as well. And like, for some reason, David Tennant's voicing over that bit. He doesn't voice over any of the rest of the game, so that's just weird.
Are you sure it's him?
Yes, it's definitely him. He was in the promotional material.
Oh.
But he's just doing that bit, kind of like doing his whole shtick, you know, David Tennant, the character. But yeah, he's not in the game itself. And then the game itself is... it puts you through a lot of tutorials at first, all with these terrible, terrible cutscenes. I can't believe they let these cutscenes happen. They look nice and they're well motion captured, but they're just, who are they appealing to? I don't know who they're appealing to. Just awful dialogue, crap jokes, crap characters. There's like the whole thing's set on like a Pacific Island type deal, and like there's different teams. Like one team's like the kind of alpha male guys and the alpha female guys, and another team's like the Islanders, but they're white and like they're simple and they have like honor and stuff. It's like, really? And then there's like the tech guys, and there's like the fucking nerdy hacker guy with the cool glasses and the emo haircut, and he's like hyperactive. I can't believe, why did you let this in? So you have to sit through a lot of that shit and then play very, very boring. It's like, here's how to play motion tennis. Like, dude, I know how to play motion tennis. There's nothing in this game that you've not done before. So the best games in it are the wake racing game, which looks beautiful. It looks absolutely beautiful. But constantly, as I was playing, you stick your arms out, close one fist to like that will start the throttle, and then you kind of have to steer, like pulling, instead of steering like a steering wheel, you steer like a motorbike, right? So one hand goes forward and one hand goes back. Well, it was perfectly well. Whole time I thought this game would be amazing on a controller with the wave tech and everything. Not exactly a glowing endorsement for the game there. Another cool one is climbing, because it manages to register every handhold quite well. So you start pulling yourself up the wall. Ultimately a pointless endeavour, but works quite well. The bowling isn't as good as the original Wii bowling. It just isn't. The tennis isn't as good as Wii Tennis Motion Plus version. Definitely isn't as good as Sports Champions table tennis on PlayStation 3, which is marvellous.
Yeah.
The shooting game's crap. It's a pointing simulator. You just point. It fires for you, and you shoot these targets. It's wank, and I can't even remember what the other sport is. That's how little I care. I literally can't. It's just disappeared from my mind. So I wouldn't recommend it at all. It's there's no online multiplayer, which is bad.
Wow.
But it does this thing. The whole idea is it uploads your champion to the cloud. So every time you're playing, it downloads like your friends' avatars and whatnot. So it's a cool idea, and it's done very slickly. And there's obviously offline multiplayer, but it's difficult to get that many people. You need so much room to do it. And there's still the whole thing of Kinect not registering you, and players fucking freaking out and arm stuff. And it's just like, nobody wants this, man. Like, it sold well at first because it was novel, but when you hear this is the reason why Titanfall is the frame rate shit on Titanfall, because there's graphics processing go into the Kinect, and then a game like this comes out. I feel bad for Rare. Like, it looks great. I don't feel too bad for Rare because they made those cutscenes. And this football was the last one. Of course, it is crap. It's just fucking crap.
Football in the 360 version of Kinect Sports was really good.
Yeah, it's crap now. It's just all you're doing is kicking it up, passing it to yourself, and then kicking it up, and then trying to volley it in. It's fairly similar to what it used to be, but for some reason it's really bad at registering your kicks. So you have to kind of kick in this bizarre, really stilted way. If you try and do it as you would kick a football, it can't pick it up. It's just not very good. It's just not very good at all. The wake racing is good. The bowling's fine. The tennis is fine, and the climbing's fun for a bit. But with no online multiplayer, and it's just, I don't know. I don't really want to piss it out in front of my TV anymore.
Yeah. But does it? It doesn't even work that great.
Not great. No, not great. It means that there are elements of it that work fantastically. Like you can pick up your fingers on your hand, and the hand positioning stuff's way better. But it was telling me on climbing, you need to be able to see the bottom of your feet and your hands are stretched out above your head. So I mean, I'm 6'1", you're 6 foot what, 4, 5? I mean, you're really tall. So imagine your camera needs to see all the way from the bottom of your feet to the top of your hands. To do that, I could barely see the TV properly. Certainly if the writing comes up, I can't really read it properly, and you'd have to be even further away than me. So it's always been such a huge problem because in order to play Kinect as it really wants you to be able to play, you need a huge TV because it wants you to be so far away. If you have my bro has a 22-inch telly that he plays games on, and he doesn't have a Kinect, but if he would not be able to see what he was doing if he was to play a Kinect game. So I like the voice control stuff on Xbox One a bit, even though it still can barely understand what I say. But this can. I gave it a 6 when I reviewed it, but it's not great at all.
A 6.
I mean, do you know what? I'm giving it a bit more of a kicking in audio form than I did in writing form. But yeah, in hindsight, I think I should have given it a 4.
Okay. One thing about I really liked the last Kinect Sports. I mean, some of the games were rubbish, but the football especially. I remember me and a mate played it for hours one afternoon, and we were putting tiny bits of curl on the ball and stuff and taking shots. It was like, this works better than any Kinect game in history. And the fact that there's no online multiplayer is a real shame, because there was an afternoon where I got completely addicted to having fights with people online with the shadow boxing. Yeah, that was just wicked. You were actually playing against people, decking the shit out of people's avatars. It was wicked.
Yeah, there's no boxing and no online multiplayer. So yeah.
Well, okay. Robert, did you say it sold quite well at first?
I just meant the original Kinect machine. It did quite well, didn't it?
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a shame. Okay, my number 4 is Luftrausers on the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation Vita. Luftage. I won't go on about it because you've spoken about it a couple of times. It's hard to think of a game that has better embodied the term no nonsense. It's an aeroplane shooting game done in a Game Boy visual style, although there's more detail to it, obviously, and it's sort of brown and red rather than green. But everything about, even the level up structure, involves moving a couple of tiles up and down. It's so simple, and you can be anywhere in the game, anywhere in any menu. Just press up, and that plane comes shooting out of the submarine. The controls are really hard to understand and to learn, but they do gift the game with amazing moments. I mean, just swiveling around at the right moment, and being almost dead, and then taking out an entire fleet of little planes. I mean, I did that, and I was like, I don't know how I did that. The main conceit, like you said, of the way to survive is to stop firing, and then you repair. It's genius. I'm sure it's been done before. I'm sure it's been done in a couple of cave games I've played. I'm pretty sure, anyway. But every time I had to stop firing, sometimes it just invoked a sharp intake of breath. It's a really clever system, and the game is beautifully structured. Just when I was a hair's breadth away from getting sort of aggressed or annoyed by it, they'd introduce a new thing. So if you're getting trouble, if you keep falling into the water and that kills you, you can unlock something that has. You can have a plane that is completely immune to the water. So you can actually play completely differently and swim underneath the water and then sort of smash into things. If you keep colliding with things, you can have the tough fat. It's just clever. Every time I started to think this is starting to get, this is on the verge of getting sort of tedious. Bang, new thing, and you can play. And I just now play with everything on random. So because there's something like 120 combinations or so, and you just find new ones. With regards to collisions on PlayStation Vita and a little bit on PlayStation 3, but definitely on PlayStation Vita, collisions cause massive frame drops. On Vita, it's very noticeable. On PlayStation 3, not so much, but on Vita, it's like that you could do with an update if they could fix it, because it really drops frames, especially when there's all that chaos going on and you're you're trying to stay alive and it drops frames like you wouldn't believe.
That even did that on my PC, to be fair.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just because it doesn't happen so much on PS3. But on PS Vita, it's it was a little bit bad at points. I tell you what, the dumbest thing I've ever done is turning this on when I'm getting into bed at like 1 a.m. Just I'll have a look, and I played it for like 3 hours straight, and I didn't sleep, which was really dumb. But it's a wicked game, absolutely wicked.
Music's good too.
It really is. Yeah. It's like you said, depending on what combinations you have, the song's slightly modified.
Yeah. What a cool idea.
Yeah, really. It's a wicked, absolutely wicked game. Truly.
Yeah, they're my guys. They're definitely my guys. Plan B. You need to play Super Crate Box. That's just some simple, fun shit.
It's on my Vita, but yeah, I will.
Yeah, that's fucking fun. And then that Nuclear Throne, that looks great. I want to wait until it's out as opposed to early access. But yeah, I'm definitely on that shit. Okay, my number 3 is a game called Strike Suit Zero, Director's Cut on, again, Xbox One. Again, asked to review it. This is the Director's Cut of a game that came out, I believe, last year on PC. And was a Kickstarter success story. It's a space combat game in the kind of TIE Fighter X-Wing mold, but with a spaceship that can turn into a robot. I'm sure people who know about these things would have a more technical Japanese name. I don't know. I just call it a robot. And it's quite good fun, actually. It got an absolute kicking on Eurogamer when it first came out, because apparently it was like bastard hard and really badly balanced. It's not like that anymore. It's definitely not. I read the review again as I was playing, and he talks about this one specific level, which I did first time, so I guess they just sorted it. And it's a really nice game. That genre isn't something that massively appeals to me, but it moves really smoothly on the controller. And the way the game works is that your ship is quite nippy, but not very powerful. And the robot is incredibly powerful, but not too fast. So after a few levels, you get access to the robot, the ship that can turn into a robot. So the idea is you go in, start shooting some baddies. That will power up a bar. I think it's called Flux. Once that's full, that means you've got robot power, and then as you're in robot mode, that power bar goes down. Really classic game mechanic. Yeah. And every single level is basically like some story happens. There's people waffling. I don't pay attention to it. It's awful. And yeah, it's just, can you shoot all the baddies sometimes before they blow up this thing, or sometimes before a time, or sometimes just shoot them all up, and it's definitely fun. It looks kind of nice. It moves very smoothly. The central mechanic is cool. It's fun to turn into a robot and blast the fuck out of things. It does everything fairly simply. It's a decent length for the price. I think it's like 16 quid. And there's quite a lot of content in there. There's a main campaign mode, which I think has 13 missions, and the missions are all quite long. And then there's a whole extra mode, which puts you in these, like, they call them VR scenarios, but they're basically just levels where they haven't had to bother with the story. But to be honest, they should have probably done that for the whole game. Yeah. But it's one of those games where you can tell someone in there's married to this terrible story that they've made up about a fucking guy that's got amnesia and he's the best pilot. But it just makes me want to just bang my head against the wall. Anyway, that doesn't get too offensive, to be honest. But the loads of content. If you like that genre, and you've been looking for something in that genre for a while, I'd actually definitely recommend it. It's on the Director's Cut is also out on Steam, but it's on PS4, excuse me, and Xbox One, and it's fine. It's good stuff, good solid 7 out of 10, fun game.
Okay, so you don't know for definite if the Director's Cut is actually modified from what originally came out.
Yes.
Okay, because the only Steam sale I've ever bought something on on my Mac, this is one of the games in it, and I still haven't gotten around to play it. So that's the version that I'm getting is the rock hard one that's shite.
They may have patched it so it's less shite since the reviews. I don't know. I think a lot of what's in this director's cut is this whole extra mode, and yeah, I don't know what else, but I think it's mainly this whole extra mode. But I don't know whether it's the director's cut that sorted the game out from being shit, whether it was never shit in the first place and the guy who reviewed it was just shit at it. I don't think that's the case. And or whether it's... I can't remember the first two things I said. But yeah, I don't know. It's a video game. I don't know anything anymore.
All right. It's download only, I take it?
Yes. Yeah, it is, yeah.
16 quid. All right.
I believe so, but it might not be because I don't know anything.
Likewise. Okay, well, my number 3 is Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate Deluxe Edition. I spoke about it earlier in the week to do a YouTube video, so here's that audio. Boom! My number 3 is a game called Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate Deluxe Edition on the Xbox 360. It's also available on PS3 and Nintendo Wii. It's a port of the PlayStation Vita game that came out earlier this year. Last year?
Gonna say last year.
Okay, I played some of it on the Vita and really quite liked it. It's a 2.5D game, so it's a 2D game, but you can transition between different planes and sort of shift the perspectives around and stuff. There are some really nice cutscenes intermittently, sort of made to mimic hand-drawn animated cells. They're not static, actually. They move a little bit. The button layout is identical to the main Arkham games, almost identical. So detective mode's on the bumper, A is run, etc. Visually, on sort of home consoles, it's fine. The environments are very low on detail, and some of the individual elements. So one of the first things you see is this fabric blowing in the wind. Look really primitive, but on the whole, it's fine. And for an Xbox Live Arcade game, PSN game, it's okay. The combat's okay. There's no depth to it because it isn't in 3D and it's not as fast. And there's also a little bit of input delay that I don't remember being on the Vita version. But the combat is so forgiving that it doesn't really matter. It's just quite irksome at first because it's pretty much a thoroughbred button masher at points, but you do get used to it. As the game goes on and on, you kind of just wish the combat wasn't in it at all, and it was just the other stuff. But then again, the platforming isn't particularly sophisticated either. It's like you press grapple when you're told to, and then the game opens up a little bit. It's very much it's a traditional Metroidvania game. It does get better as it goes on, but it's absolutely in that mould. The toys are all right. The analyzer is this thing where you look at things in the background in detail. On the Vita, you dragged your finger over it, so it was quite cool. Here, you're just sort of dragging a thumbstick. It's the problem with detective mode is always the same. It's that if there's a problem, you just need to press one button. That's always your solution. And this hasn't fixed that at all. The game on the whole is a little bit stop-start because it was originally a handheld game, and it isn't as fast on... it's not as fast as the original sort of game. So, I mean, one thing that keeps happening is that as soon as you see RB, you tend to grapple straight away. I mean, in the main trilogy, you can back out or redirect yourself quite briskly. But in this, if you see a prompt and you accidentally hit a button, you have to sit there locked in for like 5-10 seconds. That's annoying. The combat animations are really slapdash, so limbs flail around and go in and out of scenery, and you on occasion. And sometimes the button prompts don't work properly. If you're beneath an enemy in a vent, for example, and did they walk over you, you have to shimmy in little increments to get to the only point at which it will allow you to perform a takedown. So yeah, it's definitely a slapdash port, I think. I don't think a great deal of time or money was spent on it, but it's okay, it's fine. There are some things in it that are just dumb, though. I mean, so at odds with the IP. Stuff that you would never have seen ever in a million years in the Rocksteady games. For example, whenever there's a long corridor, they just put spike strips on the floor. And apparently the world's greatest detective can't step over them. He has to do this elaborate combat rather fucks up all the time. You're just like, why am I trying to bounce over spikes just for the sake of making a corridor more interesting? It's just lazy and... yeah, it doesn't fit the IP really. And also, I mean, the concept of the game's dumb because that you go through the game. Why didn't Batman bring all his kit with him? He encounters a problem. He's like, how can I get past this wall that looks like it can be pulled with something? And it's like, dude, you've got that stuff at home. Why are you looking around for... And why are these Wayne Tech crates around Arkham Prison just lying around in rooms? I mean, it's dumb. I mean, it really is stupid. The dialogue is whack too. I mean, it just feels like it was made by people who don't really care about Batman. But on the whole, the thing's rough around the edges, and like I said, I don't think it took a lot of time or money to create. And if you have a Vita, play it on that. It's really not bad. It's yet another Metroidvania game, but there are some reasonably cool ideas in it, especially later on. It's neither good enough to warrant being mentioned in the same breath as the Rocksteady games, but it's never bad enough to shame the solid game that it was kind of tied to, Arkham Origins from last year. So it's fine. If you want to love it, you probably will.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever play that game unless it comes on PS Plus for some reason on PlayStation Vita, but not that version.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure it will come to PlayStation Plus, but if it does, yeah, it's solid, it's fine, it's all right. It's just there are annoyances, there are really good ideas, and there are really dumb ideas. It's a mess, but it's like pure sixness.
It did sound very six.
It's 100% your thoroughbred six. Wise words.
Wise words. I liked it when it happened. I've got to talk again now, straight away.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 2 is Trials Fusion on Xbox One, 16 quid. Or £32 if you choose to buy the Season Pass, which it tells you to buy a second that you buy the game, and is indicative of what is gone wrong with Trials Fusion. So Trials Frontier, what's the game called? No, Trials Evolution, the second one that came on Xbox 360, a ludicrously high value for money product, an insane, all those levels, all the creator stuff, all the skill games, and then this huge brilliant multiplayer mode that we play quite a lot. For some reason, Trials Fusion only has local multiplayer. Apparently, in online multiplayer, wasn't very popular. This is what they said, wasn't very popular according to their metrics, and isn't going to be included for the next few months. I call bullshit. Everyone I know that plays that game played multiplayer.
Yeah.
So you're left with the game itself, and I mean, I was texting you as I was playing it, and it's Trials. It looks very nice on Xbox One. Apparently, it looks even nicer on PS4, but to be honest, it looks lovely on Xbox One. There's a few screen tearing issues on a couple of levels. That happen to also be a couple of early levels, and it happens like in one level quite late on. But basically, there's no problems. Sort of rock solid 60 frames. It looks lovely, and yeah, it's very easy for a long time if you've played Trials before, and I was really, it just felt like just going through the motions. The tracks were very short, and I just think, what is this? I just felt like a lot of content has been held back for the Season Pass. They're constantly talking about the Season Pass. There's going to be 6 DLC packs between now and next year, and I just felt like this isn't the kind of bounty of luxuries that you got with Evolution, and it's a more expensive game than that was as well. The game itself is obviously still fun. Trials is great fun, and as I got to the later levels, it started. They are some of the best in the series. Definitely, they managed to strike a great balance between being very irritating and trialsy, but still fun and not just like ludicrously difficult, ludicrous difficulty spikes or anything like that. It's a much smoother curve to the really hard stuff, and there's some great stuff in there later on. I haven't got all the way to the super hard levels, but much smoother curve than in previous games, and less cheap stuff like having to balance on the waters in fountains and stuff like that, like you had to on some of the levels in Evolution, and then you spin around and you couldn't really control it properly. So there's nothing like that. But yeah, you can't escape the feeling that there's being content held back. It has the create mode, which is a central part to this game. And I played it day it came out, and there was already like 100 tracks on there that people have made. They're all shit, but you could already see how good that some are going to be. So I'll imagine a day later, if I put it on, there'll be a ton more. And they've really gone to town on the kind of social aspects of it. So there's a really good menu. There's loads of different ways of like having your favourites. There's a feed of recommended stuff. You can go back to stuff that you played before easily. There's like a like or unlike version after you played the track. So that's going to become where where a lot of people play the game, and it's going to be interesting, very interesting to see what comes out of that. There's the creation tools seem amazing. So yeah, I mean, a few weeks down the line, that could be very cool, but as it stands, a single player that doesn't get going until about 3/4 of the way through, I'd say. If you've played, and I'm no Trials expert, but if you know how to play Trials, it doesn't really get going until 3/4 of the way through. Oh yeah, I should say there's like tricks you can do now on the right stick. So there are some events which they're called FMX, and they're trick-based events. So you hold it to get you're trying to beat a score. They're not very good, to be honest. And I think they're like one per set of tracks. You can also do tricks in the normal game, but they're only for completing like in-level challenges for XP. They don't count to score or anything like that. I didn't really dig any of the trick stuff. I didn't think it was done particularly well. It felt a bit sloppy. I just kind of almost wish that it wasn't there. When it's good, it's very, very good. It feels amazing on the Xbox One controller. The precision you have with the sticks makes it feel better than it ever has done before, and the triggers have the rumble in. So if you like over throttle or over brake, you can feel it in your fingers, and that actually, as you get to the harder levels, really starts to impact how you play. And everything's all about subtle nudges of all the different inputs that you have for your bike. So that stuff's great. That I haven't played it on PS4, but I'd say almost worth the slight lack of resolution that you get on Xbox One for that feature. So do bear that in mind if you're in a position where you could buy it on either. But yeah, with no multi, man. And I have to give a shout out to one of the worst songs of all time, which plays over the menu screen. The whole game's set in the future, and there's this song which sounds like an awful mix of like a emo / new metal band and like a really, really crap European dance act, and the song just goes, "Welcome to the future," over and over and over again every time you go to the menu, forever. That's not what you need. That's not what you need in a game that you're going to play for 60 hours, should you play the game for 60 hours. So yeah, I was really pumped for this game, and it's just come as a bit of a disappointment. If it had the multiplayer in there, I don't think I'd be disappointed because we'd just be playing it. But as it stands, yeah, man, it doesn't feel right.
Are you going to buy the season pass?
I don't want to. I just spent £16 on the game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's my number 2 as well because I played. It's not really my number 2. I played the demo on Xbox 360, but I put it high because we would talk about it. Why is there no demo on Xbox One?
They don't have to do that anymore.
They don't have to?
Yeah.
But were they obliged to on 360?
Yeah, you had to give a trial for everything that was going to be a downloadable game.
I didn't realise that people were obliged to do it. That's just. I mean,
it was one of the licensing deals of getting your game on Xbox Live Arcade. Because there had to be a trial.
Okay, well that's just stupid because I thought it was another thing that they'd forgotten to do, so that they can't implement demos. There are a couple of demos for like Dead Rising and then one other demo or something, but I just thought that it's something they'd forgotten to implement, like many other things on Xbox One. But yeah, I downloaded the demo on the 360. In the blurb, the little sales pitch that comes up, it describes, enjoy frenzied multiplayer action, or words to that effect. It's just like, so they're still advertising as having multiplayer.
I mean, there is local multiplayer, but yeah.
But we've had this discussion about another game. When you read multiplayer these days, you think online. That's what most people assume is meant by that. The season pass thing? I would be like, just like, sell me the game, price it at £30. The whole it's so difficult again because it's like I shouldn't begrudge them making a cheaper option available, but I can't. A game like Trials does not need a season pass. I wrote down. Hold on, let me have a look. I wrote down what it says on the website about the DLC, because the thing about something like Call of Duty is that you can buy the game and play the campaign, and you say, I'm not interested in the DLC because I just want to play the campaign. Every aspect of Trials has something in the season pass, in the DLC. It says on the website, buy the season pass now to unlock all 6 DLCs. Please don't pluralise DLC. I don't get uppity about grammar and whatnot, but it makes my skin crawl. Don't pluralise an abbreviation for downloadable content. It just buy the season pass now to unlock all 6 downloadable contents featuring new tracks, new bike parts, rider gear, and new items for the track editor. And each downloadable content will let you enjoy a new career mode event. And I'm just like, it seems so desperate because they've cherry-picked bits and pieces of the entire game and held it back. Well, maybe they're probably. I'm not saying that it's finished now and it's not, but just price the game at £30 if that's what it costs. This whole fucking idea of a season pass, I mean, you don't know what you'll get. I mean, a kid who maybe wants to toy exclusively with the track editor can't really, because aspects of it are going to be held back for the. I don't know. I don't like the season pass. It seems like it's fucking a little bit desperate and snide.
Yeah, I mean, I get it in some respects because then they can, based on how many they sell, they can work out how much effort they're going to make on those DLC pieces. Right? So, whereas if they just sold it at 30 quid, they could, and they knew they had to support it for a year on, and they didn't sell as much as they wanted to, then they're kind of in a situation where they're screwed. But this way, they can at least keep a revenue stream going. I guess that's the business behind it. But it suddenly feels like Trials has turned into a business, whereas before it just felt like this real honest video gamers game that we're going to put it out for this price because we just, we love Trials and we want you to love Trials. That's what it felt like. And now it feels, the game is still, the fundamental game is still so good, but there's an ugliness to it now.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, the beauty of that track editor is it renders DLC completely redundant anyway, because the people that make that content, I mean, there was some amazing stuff. I mean, too much amazing stuff to play in a lifetime, I'll bet, on Evolution. Career mode events, I mean, there's who needs them? We've got all this other shit. You don't need any of that rubbish. It's just, I don't know. Something about this season pass. I reckon a year or two ago, we've become so nonchalant about stuff like this. I reckon this might have caused a little bit of an upset. Now people just say, what the fuck? They charge you fucking twice. I don't know. But anyway, I played the 360 demo. As soon as I started playing it, I was immediately like, I'm back in. I want some more. Give me more Trials. I'm pretty sure if I'd have played Trials Evolution again, it would have been the same because it is fundamentally the same thing. It looks very nice. I mean, it's got all the pyrotechnics and bouncing off jet engines and planes whizzing past. I mean, even on 360, it looks much better, slicker. But the demo on 360 is pretty much appalling because all it consists of are 6 very brief tracks that are over in less than a minute each. Maybe considerably less than that. It's over in no time. But 2 of those tracks are tutorials, and apparently there are 6 tracks that are tutorials. So you play 2 of the 6 tutorials, and then it says, buy the full game. And I've just thought, if you're somebody who's played the first 2 Trials games to death and just want to know what's new, you can't even find that out because it doesn't tell you about tricks or any of the other stuff. It just stops after 2. It was 6 of the shortest races you'll ever try. And then
they're all that length until they start getting hard, and even then they're still that length. The only reason they're not that length is because they're so hard later on. But there's no like Giga Track or anything even close to that. They're all a minute long.
That sucks.
Yeah, it was. I was really upset, to be honest. When not like I was sad, but I was just kind of pissed off. It's like, this isn't what you said it was going to be. This isn't Trials. Why is everything 45 seconds long? Why is it so easy forever? Yeah. And it is fucking easy for a long time, but it's really hard on. It's really harsh on locking off the later career events for medals. So I'm having to go back and basically gold the entire game just to unlock the last tracks. And I just kind of want to play the tracks. I bought fucking 16 quid's worth of game here.
Yeah. Isn't that? I mean, it's surely if that's the case, that's liable to cause a gigantic backlash because the people who really love Trials, and there are enough of them, love it because it's unbelievably difficult. So if it's that much of a breeze, I'm sure people are going to start getting upset. But then again, that's another reason the track creator is so beautiful because people can make their own rock hard tracks. I remember playing a track that was based around Super Meat Boy, and besides looking amazing, it was unbelievably hard. It's. I mean, I haven't played it. I mean, I was going to buy it, absolutely no question. I was going to buy Trials. I mean, there was no question in my mind. But yeah, hearing you talk about it and then playing that... also, that's the other thing. At the end of the 360 demo, a little video comes up. And again, multiplayer madness for 4 friends. And it's like, again, it may not say that it's online, but people naturally these days assume that that's what it means. Because who plays local multiplayer anymore? Who has 4 pads in the home? Probably kids, but I'm just when you hear multiplayer, I think.
Well, especially when the last one had that, and that was essentially the last one.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what we all played. I mean, same as you. Everyone I know played that more than the single player.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you've never played a Trials game before, say you're a PlayStation 3 and you've upgraded to PlayStation 4, I'd say, I mean, I haven't played it, but.
Yeah, I'd say get it. It's Trials.
Yeah, because it's Trials. If you've never played a Trials game,
you won't find it easy as well. Like I have, it will be much harder earlier on in a good way because you won't have learned all the subtleties of driving one of those bikes across those tracks that you and I have learned over playing 2 games worth to death.
Yeah, to death. Yeah. Yeah, it's a funny one. We were talking about it tonight about whether to get it because everyone I know's kind of held off as well because they're pissed off about the season pass because it just you don't really know what you're getting. Either way, you don't know what you're getting if you buy the season pass or if you don't. You're kind of like,
for fuck's sake.
It's just that's annoying. Just give me what I want. Just give me the game. I'll pay if it's fucking. It's the same as the free to play thing. This doesn't sit right with me. But then again, we're old cunts.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was my number 2 as well. So Go.
Okay. Okay. My number 1 then, a game that I never thought I'd play, but is now my number 1, is Hearthstone: Heroes of Warcraft on Mac. In fact. Also available on PC and now iPad. I never thought I'd play a game like this. I'm sure you know what this is. This is the collectible card game style game from Blizzard. Apparently, it says Heroes of Warcraft. Apparently, the people in the game are from World of Warcraft. I've never played World of Warcraft, so I didn't know. I remember seeing people play Magic the Gathering. My little brother had Pokemon cards. I've never been interested in anything that was a card collectible game apart from Top Trumps. Top Trumps an all-time boy. But for some reason, one day, about 10 days ago, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to try this Hearthstone game. It's free. And within about 10 minutes, I was like, yeah, this is good. I'm in. And that was it, really. It's a very, very simple strategy game. That's all it is. It's just a strategy game. Very similar. It reminded me mainly of Advance Wars, but with a kind of random element to it. So to break it down very, very quickly, there are people who know about this genre, so forgive me for my fucking ineptitude, because A, you people will know this already, and B, I'll say all the wrong words and have all the wrong terms, so I apologise beforehand. But basically, there's a board. You can pick from 1 of 9 heroes. You have to unlock them. You start off with this bird who's a druid or something. No, she's not a druid. She's a mage. And then there's a hero at the other end. That's the baddie. You each have 30 cards each. One person goes first, and every turn it draws a card from your deck of 30. And that card has a crystal at the top with a number in, and that's basically how many mana crystals it takes to play that card. Every turn you get one more mana crystal. Right, so it basically means how many turns it need to have happened in the game for you to play this card out. The cards, you put them in front and they just become little soldiers, and they do different things, and they play their ones, and they can hit each other and take damage off each other. All the numbers are there, it's really simple. Or they can hit the other hero, and you're basically trying to get the other hero's life down to nothing from 30. There's a 5-game tutorial that takes about 20 minutes in total to play that explains pretty much everything in the game really simply. I was kind of knocked back by how simple it was. And then I kind of got into playing against people online, and I got smashed. I think I lost my first 12 games, but I was learning about the game every single time that I played, and there was never anything that I felt overwhelmed by. There was never anything that I didn't understand, but someone would do something and I'd be like, oh, that makes sense every single time. So even though I was losing, I didn't really mind. I was still having fun doing it. And then after a little while, you get to a point where you decide, okay, I'm going to build... It gives you like a standard deck of cards for each character. But after a while, you go, I'm going to build my own deck, as they call it. And I basically started subtracting some of these terms that I've heard for ages from my mind and replacing them. So for deck, I was like, loadout. For cards, that you play, they're just soldiers. And they call them minions in the game. They're units. The fact that it's cards is basically irrelevant. These things, they animate and they jump up and hit each other. The fact that they're cards is basically irrelevant. And yeah, so I built my own deck. I didn't really know what I was doing, but it does a very good job of kind of hand-holding you through it. And it was kind of fun to create your own loadout. And the more I played, the more I saw which were those cards that I had, which of those units that I had, I should say, were working, which ones were working together, and which ones weren't. And yeah, I started to get a handle of my character and what would be a good loadout for that character. And as you play, and if you do manage to beat people, you win in-game gold, and you can complete quests in the game. Again, it sounds complicated and nerdy, but all the quests are just daily challenges, same as any other game you play these days. Manage to beat, it's like win 2 games as this type of character, will give you 40 gold. Every time you get 100 gold, you can buy a card pack, put it on this little thing, and it goes, and then 5 cards come out. You choose them over. If you, oh sweet, that might help for my character, I might stick that in my loadout. it's so simple. Honestly, it's one of the simplest games that I've played in ages, but there's so much depth to it, and I just got really really into it. It's just really fun. It's really fun to outthink and out strategize your opponent. Just as in any great strategy game, the matchmaking's really good. There's a thing called the arena where there's a buy-in to get in, but it will give you and your opponent. You have to build a deck out of random cards, so you don't have the whole thing where you think that person's bought they spent real money and bought all the good cards. You can't really do that anyway, but there's an element of that. The arena was kind of a bit too advanced for me, and I kind of sacked it off, but it's a cool idea. You get consecutive wins and then you win massive prizes. In-game currency and cards, and not real prizes. But the main matchmaking is like standard. You rank up and things like that. Really fun. Never. And we were talking before about Trials Frontier and the free-to-play model there, and it's constantly feels like it's pulling you here and pulling you there and pulling you there to try and get money out of you. This never. It never even mentions it. The only time money is ever mentioned is if you go to the store to spend your in-game currency. It also goes, you could buy a pack for £2. You could buy this many packs for this amount. You could buy this many packs for this amount. Nothing flashing up. It's just there. There are options, and that's the only time it ever mentions real money. So people were clearly spending money on this game, and lots of it, and that's absolutely up to them. But it's just so, compared to that, what we're used to on mobile, it's so nice because it's just like here's a game that I've played. I played this for hours at the last because it's on my Mac. You can stop for if you're working. It's like I'm going to stop for half an hour and have a bit of halfies, and then go back to work. So I've been doing that a lot, and I've racked up, I've probably played sort of 60, 70 games now, maybe more. And I'd say I've lost more than I've won, but really fun. It's just such a fun game. So well made, so deep, but so accessible. And that's really accessible, because I would never thought I'd play anything like this. And I showed it to my wife, and she was like, "What the hell is it? What the hell are you doing? This is the nerdiest thing I've ever seen you do." But I was like, "I bet you'd like it if you actually got your head around it." And I'd say that to anybody, because I'm not the guy that likes this kind of thing at all. But it's just a fun, very simple strategy game, and I'd recommend it to anybody. It's great fun.
I think I'm going to have another look at it, because funnily enough, when I was in Berlin last week or 2 weeks ago, Tom said, "You've got to have a look." He tried to show me how to play it, and I sat there, and as he tried to explain it to me, and just white noise in the ears, my eyes glazed over. I'm like, I can't see myself ever play something. I don't know why. I don't think something about that just seems like something I'd never play, and I can't even. Is it really that simple?
It's so simple. Honestly, if you do the 5-game tutorial, which honestly takes no longer than 20 minutes, you'll get such a grasp of what the game is. And I then went to go and play real players. What I'd actually recommend that you can play against the other heroes in the game, as they're called, in quite simple AR matches. And it's way better to do that, because you'll start to understand the game better, and you don't have the frustration of a real person dicking you over. So I'd recommend doing that, and then you unlock all the different people, and you can pick which type. It's just so clever for someone who loves Advance Wars as much as you do, and all the way that works with the paper, scissors, stone, and how this unit works with this and this unit works with that, and you're constantly playing this kind of like multifaceted strategy game with someone else. That's exactly what it is, but it is so simple. It really is. There's like a couple of different perks that different cards have that you can lay down. There's like one that puts a shield around it, and all the enemies, they have to attack that one. They can't attack anything else until that one's dead. So just there's not many of them. That's the thing. There's not many of those elements. You play like a Japanese RPG, and there's like fucking 20 different statuses, and you have to learn it all. Here's just a few. People who play Magic the Gathering say this is way simpler, but way better. It's just because it's so well made. It is good that the iPad version's out now. It's free. Get it on iPad. It'd be lovely on that. And I've never felt compelled to spend money. Never. And I didn't feel that I was being beaten by people who paid to win either. I felt like I was being beaten by people who maybe they got a better luck of the draw. That's one thing that you have to remember. There is a random element, same as if you're playing poker or something. It is a card game, and the cards are drawn at random from your deck, so you might just get stitched. You don't get your good cards that you wanted, and you're just like, there's nothing I could do. You write it off. You play the next one. It's 5 minutes game. They might get stitched, and you run them over, or you might have a close game that goes completely down to the wire, and then that one call you start to make it, and you're like, fuck no, actually if I did this one at this time, and you do it, and then boom, and then really satisfying. It's really good. I'd recommend it to anybody. It's just a really really fun game.
Okay, looking at it, Advance Wars was not something that I thought would be in any way similar to it. I mean, I'll probably. I mean, it's going to be work for me to even be able to take in enough information during those tutorials. But I suppose I'll give it a try.
Honestly don't think it would be. I honestly don't think it would be. It's so simple.
But I don't. Tom was showing it to me, and I was looking at it like, oh yeah.
Yeah, but Tom's coming from a place of basically it talks to you as if you're an idiot that have never played a game like this before, and you don't even know what these games are, which is what I was, and it just talks you through it one game at a time. It's honestly, mate, it won't be work. It's so easy.
All right.
And then as you play it, you start to learn the intricacies. But those you learn how to play the game like a good card game. I know how to play poker. I'm no good at it, but I know how the rules work, and that's what those tutorials do. But yeah, I don't have an iPad fast enough to play it on iPad, unfortunately. But I reckon it'd be glorious on iPad.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I'll have a look, and I'll try and bat on my way through the tutorial. So yeah.
Do it.
All right. Okay, well, my number one is Lego The Hobbit on the PlayStation 4, also available, as usual, on all manner of other formats, every other format under the sun. This is my first next-gen Lego game. I played them all on 360 normally, but this was on PS4. There's not a vast amount that's noticeable, but apart from the depth and just the scope of the visuals, I mean, you start off the game in this gigantic cathedral, sort of rocky, cavernous place. I don't know what the hell it was, sorry. And every part of it is really crisp, and it looks, it doesn't look like a background. It looks like you could actually go there. So you get a real sense of scale. And the size of the environment is appropriate because this is a very big game. As big as, Lego Marvel Superheroes was very big also, and it's in a similar vein to that. It's ostensibly a sandbox, but there's very clear lines running through it, and you can avoid all that stuff if you want to. This has not got a great script behind it because this uses dialogue from the movie, so it's already loses points against Lego Movie and Lego Batman, whichever the Lego Batman was with Robin and Superman. But it's got the same really, really good-hearted slapstick in it. It's got a brand new crafting system where you have to use loot to build stuff. But, I mean, it's elementary. I mean, if you get to a door and you need to build something, you just walk around the environment, smash a few things up if you don't have it, and it takes a few minutes. It's just incredibly simple, and it's fine. The best thing they introduced in the last Lego game, Lego the Movie, were these periodic puzzles that were basically interactive Lego. Something was built on the right-hand side of the screen, and then it would be like, what piece is missing? And you'd have to pick quickly, and the faster you did it, the more sludgy. And I was just like, that should be part of the formula in all Lego games. And maybe it is, because it's here again, and it works great, and it's just brilliant. It's just as amiable and enjoyable, and I was smiling the whole time. There's a really hilarious buddy up system now where you can take two characters and you sort of engage in action sequences together. In all the Lego games you sort of collaborate on puzzles, but in action sequences now, you can pick each other up and throw them around and stuff. But you can do this thing now where you you link arms and you run around like you're joined at the hip, flailing each other weapons around. Every time I did that, I smiled. I just thought it was really funny. The only bits that cement its status as a kids game are the action scenes, because for the first time in a long time, back to the old sort of before they were really, really good Lego games, they just throw shed loads of enemies at you and you can't tell who's who, and you're only ever really hammering one button, and you just end up decking your own characters half the time. You've got infinity lives, it doesn't matter, but it's just a mess, whereas a lot of the rest of the game's so focused. I'd say that this is the closest that they've come to making a by numbers Lego game in a while, 2 years plus probably, but it isn't that. It's very good. It's I don't know what manifesto they're working to or how they run that ship, but the fact that they've made this many very good games in a row is really quite something. The Lego games, when they first started out, I kind of dismissed them because I think they were incredibly simplistic, but these are not. I mean, there's jokes in them, they're funny, there's puzzles that are very clever, and there's spectacle as well. Another thing I really like about these is that they're really expensive, and that's getting rarer and rarer. I mean, Call of Duty is supposed to be where you go for bombast and spectacle, but the last one was really quite kind of cheap. And some of these bits, there's a boss battle where I swear they're riffing on God of War, where you jump up on this beast back and you start hacking away at it, and it's really, really cool. I have no affinity for the source material The Hobbit, I could not possibly care any less. And there are other reasons too. But I mean, basically, I think if you're going to buy a Lego game at some point in the near future, get Lego the movie. I think that's a superior game, and it's nicer looking. I mean, by its very nature, sometimes you're in sort of slightly murky environments in this. And that's funnier. It's got a great script and it's jokes, but it is win-win. I haven't finished this yet, but I really do rate it. I mean, they've made another almost terrific game. I think it's the least of the most recent ones, but yeah, don't dismiss it. It's really good.
Yeah, they must have a huge team there now.
Yeah,
up in Cheshire. I mean, they're churning them out. Was this the third one this year? Is it second one this year?
Lego the movie, and then there was I mean, I think it might be the third. There was
admittedly, Lego the movie was the other studio, but still.
It was a collaboration, but yeah, it's. I mean, I find it amazing that they've made, because it would be so easy to make these games and just cut corners and just make them lazy. I mean, because I think that the initial Lego games were actually pretty fucking lazy and dull, but these ones I'm just like, well, that's a really cool idea, nice joke, gags. I'm just, they're good. I like these games anyway, but this is another good one, if not as good as the last. I'd say 3, 4, 5 maybe.
Yes, I think in about a year, maybe a little bit longer, I'm going to be playing a lot of Lego games. So yeah, I'm going to save them all for then. But yeah, that's going to be a large part of my life soon. But yeah, I mean, awesome, right? For a whole game you can play a kid, and it's fun, funny. That's what you want. Yeah, good shit. All right, my eyes are starting to shut, so it's probably time to end the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much for listening. As always, glad to be back. So it's actually been nice having a couple of weeks to really get involved with some video games. Yeah, why am I trying to talk? Thank you very much for listening. If you want to tweet at us, it's at John Denton, at Chet Roivas, at Chet and Johns. The YouTube channel is Chet and John on YouTube. The Facebook is pointless, so don't go on there. Don't go on there anyway. Facebook shit. And we'll catch you down the road, as Stone Cold Steve Austin would say.
Check you later. Goodbye.
What you doing?